We tend to like our society. We tend to like where we come from. This is a pretty safe thing to assume, but this isn't a bad thing that we love our home. In fact, it's rather good to have a healthy amount of pride in your country. And for most people like this, wanting the best for it all. Excuse me, can't speak. Thus, it only makes sense that people would want to build upon and improve something that they care about rather dearly. This is truly extraordinary, but too often ill-informed people, good people with the best intentions, mind you, will start to get on their soapboxes without fully realizing the consequences and implications of what they have been preaching. This is what's been happening with people, good people promoting communism. This may seem like a long decided topic, but when late night hosts started to promote the ideology of Karl Marx and Frederick Skittles, which was responsible for approximately 40 million deaths and 20 million deaths in China and Russia respectively, with popularity increasing or at least resurging of such a cancerous system of government, then the reasons for its abandonment need to be at least revisited. Most people who are Marxist, communist, or socialists will take a moral high ground when discussing their ideology on the fundamental level, saying that under communism everyone is made equal. They often transition into modern America as built on the principles of equality. Therefore, America should become communist. America does support equality, but a drastically different kind of equality than communism. The USA supports equality of opportunity, which means exactly what you think it would. Everyone has an equal opportunity to do whatever the individual wants to accomplish. Naturally, this doesn't work perfectly. Probably it doesn't even work half the time, but in theory, it's a just and fair system. Whereas communism's equality is an equality of outcome, which again is exactly how it sounds. Everyone has the same everything. This isn't by any stretch of the imagination just or fair. If you work all day, and I've been sitting on my butt for the past 12 hours, we would get the same reward. Not only did you waste your time, I, through the basic laws of economics, have actually stolen from you. It is great if you want to share or give charity, but having it done against your will deprives any virtue in the action itself. This isn't even the half of communism's fault, and it's barely even a third. They say money can't buy happiness, but money certainly can't harm you unless we're talking about communism. But wait, you're probably saying to yourself, China is the second largest economy in the world by a large margin, and it seems to be doing fine with communism. Yes, I will address that in a second, but let's discuss the fundamentals and necessary differences between communism and our good friend capitalism. In capitalism, everything is kept as effective as possible through Adam Smith's invisible hand. This is an absolutely marvelous system, as everyone takes care of itself, with the few exceptions of a few monopolies and the occasional stimulus package. Now, if we take a look at communism, the government is the only option. And there's no point in cutting any slack, since it is the only option. So what starts to happen is manufacturing, supply lines, etc. start spending more and more than what needs to be spent, and money is basically being thrown out the window. And if we start factoring moral and ethical questions are frequently asked, then sweatshops are thrown out the window as well, depriving any form of efficiency that communism could potentially have. So how do you stay efficient? You could always make a division within the government to help prioritize efficiency, but that would end up costing even more money. Even more problems arise when that money is primarily taken from normal citizens, and the less wealth people have, the less is spent on goods and services, which results in the prices of goods getting higher, which in turn causes less spending, and this never-ending death cycle results in a slow death of an economy that can only be broken out with more money. As stated before, this ineffectiveness is what ultimately makes communism a poor choice in general. But one fact still begs to differ. China has the second highest GDP in the world. Well, if you instead use GDP per capita, then China drops all the way to 106. This may seem daunting, but the US drops as well, down to 20th in the world. It may seem there's a similar case between China and the US, but you need to factor in the treatment of human rights and tariffs or the denial of foreign goods in the country. This brings us to the major fault with communism. The system attacks on citizens and families on basic freedom in general, which is quite controversial. So if you were just to hear me out for a second, Karl Marx stated, the bourgeoisie resisted communism because it wanted to destroy the family. However, marriage is commonly used as an indicator for economic stability and happiness, though this has nothing to do with what actually happened in practice. For example, the Berlin Wall, Stalin in the USSR, and Mao's greatly forward all provided examples of how communism sorted separations amongst its citizens. Communism is also unsuccessful because it goes against human nature. One of the most common traits anyone can pick up and see when studying human nature is humans are greedy. In Machiavelli's critically acclaimed and revolutionary piece of text, The Prince, he talks about how humanity as a whole tends to be selfish and greedy. He isn't being pessimistic at all, which many think he is. He later goes on to state that anyone in power will do whatever they have to do to remain in power. This is why communism is a bad system. Communism, although an economic system, also leads itself to dictatorship. This does not let natural human instincts to rule. They suppose that the citizens of the human nature is contrast. This is why they offered the market system, like communism's greatest rival, capitalism, is so successful because it is free market for the citizens, which also allows the express their natural human tendencies of these goods. All in all, communism is a flawed system of government. We have seen it progress through the ages as the system is today, still flawed, none of its problems being fixed from its original days. While communism sounds great, it pains me to say, it may be even great on paper. In practice, it's like the other side of the coin. It's completely different. It ruins families, wants great governments, and even more, it goes against our own nature. How can an economic system that does all this harm even attempt at succeeding as well? This is what communism does to its citizens. See, Corey bought these cookies with his own hard-earned money, but because of communism, I get to eat his cookies.
No way.
Uh-huh.
So do I.
I like cookies.
Don't wait for my cookies.
No.
No.
They're awesome.
Communism.